Okay, so the last thing that I kind of wanted to cover with you guys is probably the thing I think may be the biggest time saver in terms of these images and all these shapes and stuff that you're using to point out the distinguishing features. And that is how to group everything together. So we're going to come down here and we're going to work with this lower left for a minute. So you'll see that, like if I were to highlight this x-ray and go to move it, oh shoot, everything else stays in place. Now I've kind of goobered everything up. I've got to try to get it placed back in the right spot. It's kind of a pain in the butt. There's a way to go in and essentially group everything together so that these 6 different things become one image. And the way to do that is we're going to highlight everything um, associated with this PA. I like to start with the text box because that's the hardest thing to kind of find since you've taken away the outline and the background. So once you've got your text box selected, you want to hold down Control, and then we're going to go up here and we're going to click on all of the other things with this PA. So to point out, you'll see there's a tiny little plus sign next to my arrow. That means that I'm on the edge of that text box for the word number 2. So I'm going to click that and it's going to capture number 2 text box. Same thing for the text box of number 3. I'm going to wait until, see, I don't have that little arrow and plus sign. And now I have the arrow and plus sign, so I know I'm going to grab that. I'm still holding Control down. I'm going to come grab this yellow circle. I'm going to click and grab the red arrow. And the last thing that I'm going to click on is my actual x-ray. So now that we've done that, everything associated with this is selected. Once you've got everything selected, you're going to right click and you're going to come up here to this thing that says group, and you're going to click group. So you'll now notice we only have one kind of selection box, so to speak. And now I can pick this up and move it around all I want to, and everything with that image is all together so it all moves at the same time, which is incredibly handy when you maybe decide, oh, I don't really want that picture in that spot, I want to move it over here, whatever the case may be. The one thing that I will also say is that let's say we've grouped everything together and for whatever reason you're like, oh man, I really don't want to use a red arrow here, I want to use maybe a red circle instead. But now this is all grouped together. How do I change that? You basically will right click, you'll go back to group, and you'll now see that you can click ungroup, and it goes back to being 6 individual things again. And now again, if I move the x-ray, that moves just the x-ray. I can come in here and I can delete the arrow if I want to. I don't really want to do that, so let's get our arrow back again and put that there. But that's how you would ungroup them if you needed to make changes to something in the image. So once again, how we group them is I'm going to start with my text box. I've got that highlighted. I'm going to hold down Control. I'm going to start clicking all the other things I want to select. So the circle, the arrow, the text box for number 3, and you'll notice that, uh-oh, now my circle is not selected. It's okay, I'll come back and get it in a second. I've got my text box for number 2 selected. Now I'm going to select my circle, and I've already selected my x-ray, so everything is now highlighted. We're going to right click, and we're going to group them together. So again, that puts it all in one image. So I'm going to come through here and kind of do the same thing really quickly with all these other things, with all these other pictures. And You can kind of just sit and watch. This is really helpful, especially on something like a big pano where, we've got all these little different shapes and we want to just make sure that if we move something accidentally, we don't have to go in here and do a whole bunch of work to get everything straightened back up. So highlight my text box. Now I can come in here and start clicking on all of my little shapes. And then finally my big pano, right click, group it. Now look, all of that stays together in one thing and we can move it around. Again, this comes in really helpful when you're kind of making some formatting changes and things like that. For example, I just actually had a case where Dr. Lewis wanted me to switch the order of some of the images in the row. So let's say he told me to take this one and move it over here so that it more lined up with the pano. If I hadn't grouped all of this stuff together, I would have had to have gone in there and move, 7 different individual things. However, since it's all grouped together, I can just move those 2 images like that, and it takes literally no time at all to do that. So again, I think grouping these things together once you've got them on your image makes things so much easier and so much quicker to kind of manipulate things as you need to as you're working on your report. The one thing I will caution you about is once you've grouped things together, you can no longer use this to make changes to your x-ray shape, because you'll notice, you can see how I'm really, like, it doesn't hold your proportions anymore, so it distorts everything. So if you decide you need to make changes to your x-ray shape after you've grouped everything, you do need to go in there, right click, ungroup everything, and then you can go back to changing your x-ray using the corner and it not distorting the x-ray. So just kind of a word of caution there, that once you do group everything together, you can't really change the size of the x-ray without it having distortion. So just keep that in mind. Okay, I think that that's pretty much everything that I wanted to kind of cover with you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to just holler at me, or if there's other things that you maybe don't know how to do in Word but would like to know how to do, you can holler at me about that too, and there may be a way for me to make a video for that stuff as well. So hopefully this helped some of you out, and again, mostly just trying to make things easier and quicker for you guys when you're doing your reports, because I know everybody's busy, everybody's got a lot of stuff going on, and this is just kind of some time-saving things that have really helped me get quicker at my reports. So again, hope you guys are all doing well, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.